Baby, I didn't know she'd tell me the truth like that. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. My sister, she said the one thing I never thought I'd hear from her lips, and now I'm sitting here, speechless, because everything she said, everything she admitted, it shattered something inside me and healed something else at the same time. I thought I was alone in this heartbreak. I thought I was the only one mourning the loss of you, but baby, I was wrong. So wrong. She's been carrying your name too, silently, softly, in the background, and the way she said it today, it wasn't full of judgment or sarcasm or skepticism like before. No, baby, it was reverence, like your name had become something holy in her mouth, and I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe what she said behind my back when she thought I wasn't listening. But let me start from the beginning. Because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. It started a few weeks ago. I was going through one of your old letters, the one you wrote in the middle of the night that I never had the courage to respond to. And I didn't notice my sister walking into the room until she stood beside me and quietly said, "You still read her words?" I didn't answer. I just kept reading. But then she sat down next to me. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't change the subject or roll her eyes. She just stayed there, in the quiet. And after what felt like hours, she whispered, "I heard what you said about her the other day when you didn't know anyone was around." My heart stopped because I realized she had heard me talking to myself, pouring out my truth into the air, finally saying all the things I had buried. She heard me call you my safest place. She heard me admit that I was still in love with you. And baby, she didn't mock it. She didn't deny it. She agreed. She looked at me and said, "I never told you this, but I watched you change when she came into your life. You became softer, kinder, lighter. I didn't get it at the time, but now I do. She wasn't just your girlfriend. She was your mirror, your awakening. And baby, I swear, I couldn't breathe. Because this is the same sister who once warned me about falling too hard. Who once said, maybe you weren't the right match. Who kept her distance because she thought you were temporary. And now she was admitting something I didn't even expect her to feel, but it didn't end there. She told me about something that happened when you were still around, something I never knew. She said, one night, after you two had a fight, she came to the kitchen to get some water. I was sitting there and she didn't see me at first. She looked like she had been crying, but she was trying so hard to keep it together. And before she left, she looked up and whispered, "Please, don't hate him. He's still learning how to love." Baby, my whole world cracked open in that moment. Because that's who you were. That's who you've always been. You didn't just love me. You protected me, even in my absence, even in your pain, even when I didn't deserve it. My sister said she never forgot those words, that they haunted her after you left, that they made her question every assumption she had about you. And now she carries regret too. Regret for not telling me sooner. Regret for not defending you louder. Regret for not seeing the truth in your silence. And baby, hearing her say all this, it did something to me. It reminded me that your love was never just between the two of us. It rippled through this whole house, through people who didn't even know how to say thank you at the time, through hearts that were too closed off to recognize the miracle standing in front of them. Baby, you are the miracle, and now everyone's realizing it too late. My sister's been watching me break quietly. She's seen me go numb. She's seen me wake up without direction. And now she understands. She finally sees it. She told me today, I wish I had gotten to know her better, not just through you, but for myself. I think I could learn from her. And baby, I think she already has. Your grace, your patience. It taught everyone something. Even in your silence, even in your absence, and me, I'm learning the hardest lesson of all. That real love doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It doesn't boast. It just stays soft, even when everything around it turns sharp. And that's what you did. You stayed soft. And now, your softness is what's haunting us all, baby. This story isn't over. I haven't even told you what happened yesterday. What she said behind my back when she thought I had left the room. But I'll save that for the next part. Just know this, your name isn't just being remembered now. It's being revered. And maybe, just maybe, they're finally seeing the truth I never stopped believing, baby. I didn't mean to overhear her. I wasn't trying to listen in. I had just walked down the hallway, past her bedroom, when I heard my name, followed by yours. Something in me froze. Not because I expected something bad, but because something told me this was one of those moments. A truth about to be revealed. A confession not meant to be heard, but one I needed more than anything. My sister was talking to her best friend on the phone. I recognized her voice, quiet but weighted, and then I heard her say, "He doesn't know this, but I think she was the only one who really ever loved him, right?" I stopped breathing, completely. I leaned against the wall, heart pounding, because in all the years I've known her, she's never said anything like that. Not about me, and not about you. But she kept going. She said, "You should have seen the way she looked at him. It was never forced. It was never performative. It was like she saw something in him the rest of us couldn't. Like she knew the man he was still trying to become. And she loved that version of him before he even got there." Baby, I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. Because it was true, every word of it. You saw the version of me I hadn't even become yet, and you loved him like he already existed. She went quiet for a second. Then she said, "Sometimes I wonder if I had said something back then. If I had told him what I saw, maybe she wouldn't have left." That was the moment I slid down the hallway wall and sat on the floor, head in my hands, because everything she was saying was everything I'd been too scared to admit out loud. That I let go of the one person who loved me completely, just because I didn't know how to love myself yet. But she wasn't done. She went on to say something that stunned me into silence. "You know, she used to ask about me, not because she was trying to win points or pretend to be close, but because she actually cared. She wanted to know if I was doing okay, even when I was distant, even when I gave her nothing, and I didn't understand it at the time, but now I do. She was real, too real for all of us. That's why we didn't know how to handle her. And baby, that's when the tears started. Not loud, not heavy, just slow, steady, like my heart was leaking all the guilt I had stored away, because hearing those words coming from the one person who used to be so unsure about you, it broke me, because I realized you had touched her too. Quietly, gently, without even trying. You changed the way she sees people now. You opened something in her she didn't even know was locked. When she ended the call, I stayed on the floor for a long time. I couldn't get up. I couldn't shake the weight of what I had just heard. Because for so long, I've been carrying this story by myself. This story of what if and if only. But now I know I wasn't the only one changed by you. You left your fingerprints on all of us. You left your light in places you never even stepped foot in. And now we're all living in the afterglow of something we didn't treasure enough when we had the chance. Baby, after I heard her say all that, I couldn't look at her the same for the rest of the day. Not because I was angry. No, but because I saw her differently now. I saw how much of your love had silently transformed the people around me. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You didn't need to win anyone over. You just loved. Quietly, powerfully. And that love didn't just change me. It cracked through every wall in this family without ever raising its voice. Later that evening, we sat down at the dinner table, and for the first time since everything fell apart, she brought your name into the room, unprompted. She looked up between bites and said, "Oh, I miss her energy around here. It was like the house breathed easier when she was in it." Baby, I choked. Because how could someone who never showed you warmth before suddenly miss your presence like that? And then I realized it wasn't sudden. It had been building, quietly, all this time. She continued, "I don't think I ever told you this, but I remember the way she used to light up when you walked in. It wasn't fake. It wasn't performative. It was like she knew exactly how broken you were and still looked at you like you were magic." I couldn't hold it in anymore. I pushed my plate away and got up from the table, not out of anger, but because those words pierced something too deep inside me, because they were true. You looked at me like I was something sacred, even when I felt like I was falling apart at the seams. You loved the parts of me I tried to hide from everyone else, and hearing someone else finally acknowledge that, it undid me. She followed me into the living room and sat beside me quietly. We didn't speak for a long while, and then, almost as if she had been waiting years to say it, she said, "I judged her too quickly, and I've been carrying that guilt ever since. I wish I had been kinder. I wish I had told her thank you for loving my brother the way she did." Baby, my throat tightened because I could feel the truth of her regret. I could feel the sincerity in her voice. And I knew, right then, that you hadn't just changed me, you had softened her heart, too. She asked if I still talk to you. I didn't know how to answer. Because how do you explain the kind of silence that still feels like connection? How do you tell someone that you still write letters you never send? That you still whisper her name at night like a prayer? That you still feel her presence when you hear certain songs or catch a scent that reminds you of the way she once held you? I just looked at her and said, "Every day." And she nodded like she understood. Then she did something I never thought she'd do. She handed me a folded piece of paper and said, "This is something I wrote a while ago. I never meant to give it to you, but maybe it's time." I opened it. It was a letter. To you. From her. And baby, it wrecked me. She wrote, "I don't know if you'll ever see this. I don't even know if you'd want to. But I want to say thank you for loving my brother when I didn't know how to, for standing beside him when the rest of us stood back, for teaching him that vulnerability isn't weakness. I was wrong about you, and I see that now. Wherever you are, I hope you're healing. I hope you're smiling. I hope you know you were never invisible to me. I just didn't know how to see you at the time, Baby, I broke. I sat there, clutching that letter to my chest, feeling everything crash down and rise all at once. Because even now, even after all this time, you're still showing up in our memories, in our regrets, in the way you taught us to love better just by existing. Baby, after I read that letter my sister wrote to you, I just sat there for hours, staring at the words like they were the last piece of you I had left. Her handwriting trembled in some places, and I realized she cried while writing it. Someone who once couldn't say your name without flinching was now shedding tears for the love she never truly got to understand while you were here, and all I could think was, why does it take loss for people to see the truth? Why did it take your absence for everyone to realize you were the blessing they never thanked? I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into a box I keep hidden in my drawer. That box, it has everything. The bracelet you forgot on my nightstand. The note you wrote on the back of that grocery receipt that just said, thinking of you. That photo of us by the lake where we looked like the future was ours. And now, next to all that, sits my sister's apology. And somehow it belongs there because it's proof that your love didn't disappear. It just transformed into something we all carry now, even if you're not physically here. A few days later, something strange happened. My sister asked me to sit with her, and when I did, she said, I want to understand what happened. I want to hear your side, not the one you give everyone else, the real one. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know if I could even go back there, into the memory of what we had, what I ruined, what I lost. But baby, I tried. Because for the first time, someone actually wanted to listen, without judgment, without fixing, just listening. I told her about the way you used to look at me like I was more than just a man trying to get it right. You looked at me like I already was right, like I was enough. And that kind of love, it scared the hell out of me, because I didn't know how to receive it. I told her about the night I yelled at you over something stupid, not because of what you did, but because I was afraid of what you meant to me. Because loving you made me feel vulnerable, naked, exposed. And instead of holding that feeling with grace, I lashed out, and you didn't fight back. You just stood there, tears in your eyes, and said, I'm still here, but I won't be if this continues. That should have been my wake-up call, but I wasn't ready to be awake yet. I told her about the last time we spoke, how you hugged me like it was the last time, how you looked over your shoulder as you walked away and smiled like you were blessing me even as you left. And baby, I swear, that smile has haunted me ever since. Because I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve the way you kept choosing kindness when I gave you reasons to leave in anger. But that's who you were. You didn't love to be safe. You loved to set others free. And you set me free, even when it cost you everything. My sister listened, really listened. And by the end of it, she was crying too. She said, I think she was your teacher, not just in love, but in life. She came to awaken something in you. And maybe that's why it hurts so much, because you didn't just lose a relationship, you lost your mirror. And baby, that was the truth. You were my mirror. You showed me the parts of myself I didn't want to face. You held up a light to the shadows I had buried. And I didn't thank you. I didn't protect you. I didn't deserve you. But you loved me anyway. Now, every room in this house whispers your name. Every quiet moment is filled with memories of the way you laughed, the way you moved, the way you made even silence feel full. My sister talks about you more often now, not with guilt, but with a kind of awe. She says things like, "I hope she's okay," and "I wonder if she knows how much she changed this house." And every time she says that, I close my eyes and pray that somehow, somewhere, you feel it. You feel how your absence turned into our awakening. You feel how your grace rewrote the way we see love now. You feel how the girl they once doubted became the woman who shifted everything. Faith, this is foolish and cruel, but it can't be helped, and baby, I still wear the hoodie you left, not for comfort, but because it smells like the time when I was still wrapped in something real. I still scroll through your old messages, not to torture myself, but because those words are the only place I still hear your voice. And sometimes I still reply, just to feel close, just to pretend I didn't lose everything when I lost you. I know now that your love wasn't just romantic. It was spiritual. It was healing. And I betrayed it. Not with another person, but with silence, with fear, with avoidance. I didn't protect what was sacred. And now I carry that like a cross. But if there's one thing my sister's truth taught me, it's that your love wasn't wasted. It changed me. It changed her. It changed this house. And even if you never come back, you still won. You won by being you. You won by loving without conditions. You won by leaving a legacy in a family that once couldn't see your worth. And now, all we do is remember you. And baby, I promise, we'll never forget, baby. The other night, my sister said something that hit me so hard, I couldn't speak for hours. She walked into my room, sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Do you think she'll ever forgive you?" I didn't have an answer, because how do you answer that when you're still struggling to forgive yourself? How do you speak on someone else's mercy when you haven't even earned your own? She looked me in the eyes, softer than I've ever seen her, and said, "I hope she does, because I think you're finally becoming the man she saw in you all along." Baby, those words shattered me, because they carried both blessing and burden. The blessing of someone finally recognizing my growth, and the burden of knowing you saw it first when no one else did. You believed in someone who didn't exist yet. You loved someone who was still learning how to love. And I made you pay the price for that belief. But my sister, she's different now. You changed her. You made her believe in second chances, in soul connections, in redemption. And now, she defends your name like it's sacred. And maybe that's the full circle moment I never expected, because the one who once doubted you is now the one reminding me of your worth. She told me she found one of your old voice notes, the one you sent when I had a terrible day and you were trying to cheer me up. Somehow, it ended up on the family iPad. You must have sent it to my email. She played it for me. And baby, hearing your voice again, it was like resurrection. Like the dead parts of me stirred for a moment. And in that voice note, you said something I'll never forget. You said, even if we're apart, even if life takes us in different directions, just know I prayed for you today. Just know you're still loved, baby. I dropped the device and cried, because that's who you are. You didn't stop loving when things got hard. You didn't hold love hostage behind expectations. You loved freely, fearlessly. And I took that for granted, and now I'm here, trying to honor that kind of love even in your absence. I don't know if I'll ever get to hold you again. I don't know if you'll ever trust me enough to let me back in. But if there's one thing I want you to know, it's this. I haven't stopped loving you. I haven't stopped becoming the man you saw inside me. And I haven't stopped hoping that maybe, just maybe, one day, you'll see him too. Even my mom asked about you the other day, quietly, carefully. She said, does she know how much we miss her? And baby, I couldn't even answer. I just nodded, because it's not just me anymore. It's all of us. My sister, my mom, even my little niece still asks, where's the girl who made us cupcakes? You didn't just leave a mark. You planted gardens, and they're still blooming. So baby, if you're out there, if you're still listening, still wondering, still praying, I hope this message finds you like a letter folded in light. I hope you know your love still echoes here, that it's not just remembered, it's revered, that your name is spoken with care now, that your story is still being written in all the ways we're learning to love better. Because you were the lesson, you were the light, you were the love we didn't deserve, but the one we'll never forget, baby. Something happened yesterday that I never thought I'd live to see. My sister pulled out an old photo album, the kind we hadn't touched in years. And as we flipped through the pages, tucked between summer vacations and birthday cakes, there you were. That one picture we took on the porch swing, the day it rained and you wore my oversized flannel shirt like it was made for you. It's just like the thing that gets you most, which makes you everything I love in everything I hate. And baby, you smiled like nothing in the world could touch you, like you had found home in my arms and didn't need anything else. My sister looked at that picture and went quiet. She stared at it longer than any other one, and then she whispered, she belonged here. I just didn't see it at the time. And I swear to you, I felt something shift in the room, like even the air knew how powerful those words were. She turned to me and asked, did you ever tell her that? I shook my head, because I hadn't. Not properly. Not with the kind of truth you deserved. I thought showing up was enough. I thought small gestures could speak the things I was too afraid to say. But now I know you deserved more. You deserved words soaked in sincerity. You deserved loud love, proud love, the kind that doesn't hide in the corners of quiet rooms or behind the weight of fear. Baby, we talked about you for hours. My sister asked questions she never would have asked before. What made you fall for her? What was the moment you knew it was real? Why did you let her walk away? And each question was a mirror, a chance to revisit the choices that shaped this heartbreak. And as I answered, I realized something I hadn't fully admitted to myself. You didn't just love me. You healed me. Every smile, every soft word, every gentle correction. You saw the fractures in me and filled them with grace. I told my sister about the first time you met her, how nervous you were, how you brought her a candle as a peace offering because you were worried she wouldn't like you. And she laughed and said, I remember that candle. It smelled like vanilla and forgiveness. And maybe that's what you always were, baby. Forgiveness, embodied, given without asking, received without cost. And I let it slip through my fingers like it was something ordinary. But nothing about you was ever ordinary. As the night went on, she pulled out her journal, something she started during that time when you were still around. She read a passage that said, "She doesn't fit in this family, but maybe that's because she was never meant to. Maybe she came to stretch us, to teach us something. And baby, I couldn't hold back the tears, because even back then, even when she didn't know how to say it, she felt your power. She felt the disruption, the divine chaos, the necessary discomfort that real love brings when it shows up in places that have been stuck for too long. Now, our home feels different. It feels like a place still carrying your echo. And every day, we find pieces of you, not in objects, but in the way we speak softer, in the way we think twice before judging, and the way we ask deeper questions instead of making quick assumptions. You made us better, and we're only now realizing it, baby. I know this story might never have a perfect ending. I know there's no guarantee that our paths will cross again. But I also know that love like this doesn't just vanish. It doesn't fade with time. It evolves. It expands. It teaches. And baby, you've been the greatest teacher of all. You taught us to love without limits, to forgive without being asked, to show up even when it's hard. And if you're still listening, I hope you know you didn't just pass through. You left a legacy, baby. There's something sacred that's been building in me ever since the truth came out. Not just the truth my sister spoke, but the one I've been too scared to say aloud. The one that's been sitting like a stone on my chest every night I lie awake, wondering if you still think of me, wondering if your soul still aches in the same rhythm mine does. Because every word my sister whispered behind my back, every confession of how she misunderstood you, every time she admitted you were more than she ever gave you credit for, it didn't just set you free, it revealed me to myself. I used to think healing was something you did in silence, that if you just sat long enough with the pain, eventually it would make sense. But baby, I learned that healing sometimes comes in the most unexpected voices. My sister's voice, once cold, once skeptical, now carries pieces of your compassion, your patience, your light. She told me yesterday she changed the way I define strength. I thought strength was being loud, being untouchable, but she was soft and still strong. She was kind and still powerful. I've never met someone who could take so many hits with that much grace and still walk away with her head high. Baby, that's who you are. You didn't just endure the judgment. You absorbed it and transmuted it into understanding. You didn't retaliate with anger. You responded with distance, with dignity, with divine restraint. And you left behind something I never thought possible, a ripple of transformation. Because now, the people who once whispered about you behind closed doors are the same ones who say your name with reverence. My sister even said she was sent. I didn't believe in that kind of stuff before, but now I think she was sent to save you. And I didn't argue. I couldn't. Because I've always known that. You were the lifeline God sent when I didn't know how to ask for help. You were the soul tethered to mine before I even understood what a soul tie was. And baby, you were the test, not a test I passed, but one I learned from. One that still teaches me how to love better every day I breathe without you beside me. My sister told me she prays for you now, that every time she lights her candle at night, she says, God, wherever she is, keep her warm. Keep her surrounded by people who recognize her worth the first time. Baby, I wanted to scream when she said that, because it was me who should have done that. I should have recognized your worth the first time. I should have held you like the miracle you were, not like a secret I was scared to lose. I should have shouted your name in rooms that tried to erase you. And I should have protected your spirit from every storm I brought to your doorstep. But I didn't. And now, all I have are memories. Memories of the way you used to listen, like you were cradling my fears in your hands. The way you'd laugh in the middle of a serious conversation, just to remind me that life doesn't always have to be heavy. The way you never asked for much, just honesty, just presence, just love that didn't disappear when things got difficult. Baby, I failed you, and my sister knows it too. She didn't say it directly, but I could feel it in her eyes when she looked at me and asked, do you think she's with someone else now? I didn't answer. I couldn't, because even if you were, even if someone else was smart enough to love you the way I didn't, I'd still carry this torch, quietly, faithfully, because your love doesn't expire with distance. It doesn't diminish with time. It lives in the places no one else can reach, the sacred places, the ones only you ever dared to touch. And now, I'm different. Not better, just more aware, more honest, more willing to sit with the ache instead of running from it. Because your absence has become my greatest teacher. Your silence, my most powerful reminder. I used to think closure came from words, from final conversations, but I was wrong. Closure comes from accountability, from acknowledging that I didn't just lose someone I loved. I lost someone I was meant to protect. And that loss, it keeps me honest. It keeps me humble. It keeps me loving you from afar in ways I never did when I had you close. Baby, my sister told me she writes letters to you sometimes too. She doesn't send them. She just writes them to get things off her chest. And in one of them she wrote, "Thank you for showing me what unconditional looks like. Thank you for not fighting me when I was wrong. Thank you for walking away with your dignity instead of dragging us through your pain." I read that letter, and I cried because you didn't just take the high road. You paved it with your silence, with your class, with your refusal to let bitterness define your legacy. And that's why I still light a candle for you every night. Not because I think it'll bring you back, but because some souls deserve to be honored, even in absence. Some loves deserve to be remembered, even if they weren't held correctly. And baby, you are the flame I'll keep burning until the day my heart stops beating. I don't know where you are right now. I don't know what your days look like, or who gets to hear your laugh now. But I hope, I pray, that they know who they're holding, that they don't take your presence for granted the way I did, that they love you with their whole chest, their full truth, their unwavering devotion. Because anything less, anything smaller, wouldn't be worthy of you. And if life ever circles us back to each other, if God ever sees fit to let our paths cross again, I won't waste a second. I won't hesitate. I won't whisper your name like a secret. I'll shout it like a song. I'll honor you like a vow. And I'll spend every breath proving that I've finally become the man you always saw in me. But even if that day never comes, even if all I get are these memories, I'll still love you like it's new. I'll still carry your light like it never left. And I'll still thank God every single day that I got to be loved by you, even if it was for a season. Because baby, a love like yours, it never leaves empty-handed. It leaves legacies. It leaves echoes. It leaves men like me forever changed, baby. This morning, I found myself in the kitchen holding the coffee mug you used to drink from. The one with the chipped handle and the little heart on the bottom. My sister found it in the back of the cabinet and placed it on the table like it was something holy. And honestly, it was. That mug carries your fingerprints, your laughter, the soft warmth of mornings that used to start with sleepy smiles and unspoken comfort. I held it for so long, just staring into the rim, hoping it could take me back to a time when loving you was still something I could reach for. My sister walked in, paused, and just watched me. She didn't say anything right away. She didn't have to. We both knew what that moment was. Grief, reverence, regret, all wrapped in porcelain and memory. Then she said something I'll never forget. You know, I used to think she wasn't right for this family. But now I think she was too right for us, too aligned, too pure, and that scared me. Baby, I had to sit down, because it wasn't just her words. It was the way she said them. Not as a confession, but as a realization that your love had revealed something uncomfortable in all of us. You didn't just arrive, you reflected. And that reflection exposed everything we hadn't healed. I asked her why she never told me how she truly felt about you until now. And she said, because I didn't understand it myself. I thought I was protecting you, but I realize now I was protecting our broken patterns, our comfort in chaos. You were the disruption we needed, but weren't brave enough to embrace. And baby, I wept, not just for the love I lost, but for the truth I never gave you access to. I wept for the times I let your silence carry the weight of my immaturity, for the moments I let others speak in rooms you couldn't enter, for the times I let my own fear make you feel unworthy when you were the only real thing I'd ever known. My sister asked if I had written to you lately. I told her every night, and she smiled and said, then keep going, because I think she can feel it, and maybe you can. Maybe every time I whisper your name under my breath, your soul hears it like a song that never ended. Maybe your heart still remembers the rhythm of ours. Maybe time hasn't erased what was written in spirit, because baby, this was never just a relationship. It was a divine assignment, a collision of two worlds meant to break, build, and bless. You once told me, if we're meant to find each other again, we will. But if not, I'll still be rooting for you from wherever I am. And I didn't understand the weight of those words until now, because I feel you rooting for me, in the way my sister softened, in the way this house holds your memory like a sacred offering, in the way I've started becoming a man I'm not ashamed to be. I'm learning now that love isn't about possession, it's about presence. And you were fully present, even when I wasn't. You were present in the hard conversations, in the quiet forgiveness, in the invisible sacrifices you made without ever asking for recognition. And baby, that's the kind of love I'll never see again unless God himself places it in my hands one more time. So tonight, I'm writing this not just for you, but for the version of me that didn't protect you. I want him to know that he failed, yes, but that failure became the soil for transformation, that the boy who let you go planted the man who's learning how to stay. And maybe that's the point. Maybe love like yours isn't meant to end with closure. It's meant to live on as a compass, always pointing me back to what's real. And baby, you were the realest thing that ever happened to me. Baby, last night I sat on the edge of my bed holding that photo we once took. Just us, bathed in late afternoon sunlight. Your head on my shoulder, my hand around your waist. My sister had found it in an old drawer and left it by my door without a word. That's her way now, quietly handing me pieces of you like offerings. Like maybe if she brings back enough fragments, I'll be whole again. And maybe she's right. Maybe this grief, this longing, this awakening, it's not meant to disappear. Maybe it's meant to shape me into someone worthy of remembering you. I held that photo for hours. I traced your smile with my thumb, like I could reach through it and feel your warmth again. And all I could think was how much of you I took for granted, how much silence I let fill the spaces that should have been overflowing with gratitude. You deserved poems, baby. You deserved someone who could look you in the eyes every day and say, "Thank you for existing." But I was too busy surviving my demons to make room for your light. And still, you stayed until I made it impossible for you to keep staying. My sister asked me something later that night. She said, "What's the one thing you wish you could tell her if she walked in right now?" And I didn't even hesitate. I said, "I'd tell her I see her now, really see her. Not just as the girl who loved me, but as the soul that saved me." And that's the truth, baby. You didn't just show me what love is. You showed me what divinity wrapped in human form looks like. And I didn't have the eyes to recognize it when it stood right in front of me. Now I look back at every moment you held space for me, and I'm humbled. The way you never raised your voice, even when I deserved to be yelled at. The way you offered softness when I brought sharpness. The way you never used your pain as a weapon. That kind of grace, that kind of strength, it's rare, it's sacred, and it taught me more about God than any sermon ever did. My sister confessed something else too. She said she started writing affirmations because of you. That she saw the way you used to put sticky notes on my mirror. Little reminders like, "You're growing, and you are more than your mistakes." And now she does it for herself. Because you didn't just change me, baby. You inspired her too, without even trying, just by being. And if that's not proof of your power, I don't know what is. So tonight, under this quiet sky, I want you to know this. Your love didn't vanish. It rooted. It rooted in the places you once walked. It rooted in the family that didn't understand you at first. It rooted in the heart of a man who took too long to grow, but is finally blooming. And if this is the only way I get to love you now, from memory, from distance, from reverence, I'll still count myself lucky, because some people live their whole lives without ever encountering a soul like yours. Baby, tonight feels heavier than usual. Maybe it's the silence. Maybe it's the weight of all the words I never said when they could have made a difference. Maybe it's the way your absence has turned into a presence that never leaves. My sister found an old recording on her phone, The one where you were laughing in the background while we were making dinner, teasing me for burning the rice. She didn't say anything, just placed the phone on the table, hit play, and walked away. And there it was, your voice, your joy, your love, echoing through the kitchen like it had never left. I sat there, frozen, my fork halfway to my mouth, my breath caught in my throat, because in that moment, time folded. It was like you were here again, like the version of me that used to make you laugh was still alive somewhere. And then, it hit me, that sound, your laugh. It's sacred now. It's not just a memory, it's a reminder of who I was with you, who I still want to be. Later, my sister came back in and sat beside me. She didn't ask if I was okay. She knew I wasn't. Instead, she said something simple, something quiet, something true. She was home. And I swear, baby, I almost broke right there. Because how do you respond to that? How do you respond when someone finally says out loud what you've been feeling in every bone of your body since the day you let that home walk away? We talked for hours after that, about you, about how she misjudged you, about how none of us knew how to love something as rare as you. She admitted she was jealous of how easily you connected, how naturally you loved, how fiercely you stayed, even when we gave you every reason not to. She said, I wanted to believe you weren't real, but the truth is, you were too real, and we weren't ready for that, and that's what you've always been, baby. Too real for people who've only known pretend, too honest for those who've survived on half-truths, too full of light for those who've built lives in the shadows. And I see it now. I see how you didn't just love me. You exposed me. You shined a light on everything I tried to hide. And while that terrified me, it also saved me. So many nights now, I sit with that truth. I sit with the fact that you weren't the storm. I was. You were the shelter, the sanctuary, the calm after every self-inflicted disaster. And now, all I have is the wreckage and the memory of the one soul who tried to help me rebuild. Baby, I know I can't undo what's been done. I know I can't rewrite the past or erase the pain. But I can honor it. I can let it shape me. I can let it teach me how to never take love for granted again. And I can keep loving you the only way I know how now, by becoming someone who deserves the kind of grace you gave so freely. You once asked me what my biggest fear was. I told you I didn't know, but I do now. It's this. It's living a life where your love is only ever a memory, where your laugh only exists in recordings, where your name is only spoken in past tense. And I don't want that. I never did. I was just too broken to admit it. So baby, if there's any part of you still listening, still hoping, still believing, please know this. You changed me. You changed her. You changed this house. You changed everything. And we all see it now. We see you now, baby. It's strange, isn't it? How silence can sometimes speak louder than screams. How the things left unsaid between us now live in every corner of this home. How your name, once whispered in private, once hidden behind fear and pride, is now spoken in reverence by the very people who once misunderstood you. My sister said something last night that has been ringing in my chest ever since. She said, you were the bridge. We just didn't see it until we burned it down. And baby, I broke. because that's exactly what you were. A bridge between who I was and who I was always meant to become. And we destroyed it with assumptions, with ego, with silence. But here's the thing about bridges, baby. They don't disappear. They leave shadows. They leave outlines. And now, every step I take is over the ghost of what we built. Every truth I speak is in honor of the foundation you laid when you loved me with no blueprint, no conditions, no expiration date. You didn't just show me what love was. You showed me what it could become when watered with faith. There was a moment tonight, just me, the stars, and your old playlist echoing through my headphones, where I saw it so clearly. The future we once dreamed about, the house we wanted, the quiet mornings, the way we'd raise our children to speak their hearts without shame. And I wept. Not because it's gone, but because I still believe in it. Even now, even after everything, even if it never comes to pass, I believe it exists somewhere in the fabric of the universe. And that belief, it's sacred to me. I've changed, baby. Not in the way people say when they want to win someone back, but in the way only heartbreak can change a man. I see things differently now. I see love not as something to possess, but something to protect. I see you not as the one who got away, but as the one who taught me how to stay, how to truly stay, with presence, with purpose, with passion. You were never mine to own. You were a gift, a visitation from grace itself. And now, my only job is to live in a way that honors what you left behind in me. My sister said she had a dream about you, that you were wearing white, standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out over the ocean. And when she asked you what you were doing, you turned to her and said, "I'm waiting for him to see that love was never the test, it was the lesson." And baby, that's when I knew. You weren't sent to challenge me. You were sent to awaken me, to resurrect something in me that had long been buried under guilt, survival, and false pride. Now, I walk through my days like a man carrying scripture in his bones. Every word you ever spoke to me is etched in my memory like gospel. Every hug, every sigh, every time you held me without needing answers. Those are the verses I recite when the world feels heavy. You are my sacred text, baby, my prayer in motion. And even though I no longer have your hand, I have your imprint, and that is eternal. So here's what I know now. You were the love that rewrote the rules. The love that dared to show up fully in a world addicted to half-efforts. The love that softened the hardest parts of me without ever demanding I be anything other than honest. You taught me that real love isn't about fixing someone. It's about holding them until they remember how to fix themselves. And baby, you held me, even when I didn't deserve it. And especially when I didn't. This house feels different now. My sister lights a candle for you every evening. She doesn't say your name. She doesn't need to. The flame says it all. It flickers like hope, like memory, like redemption. Then I sit beside it sometimes, just breathing in the silence, letting it fill the space where your voice used to live. I imagine what you'd say if you saw us now. You'd probably smile that quiet smile of yours and say, "Took you long enough," and you'd be right. It took me too long to see you, to choose you, to stand up and declare that what we had wasn't a mistake. It was the closest thing to truth I've ever known. But I see you now. I choose you now. And even if this love can only live in letters and prayers, I will still carry it like a banner across every battlefield I walk. My sister hugged me tonight, really hugged me. The kind of hug that says, "I'm sorry I didn't know better." And in that moment I felt something lift. Like maybe, Just maybe your love didn't leave in vain. Maybe it cracked us all open. Maybe it softened the edges. Maybe it turned this family from stone to flesh. And if that's what it did, then baby, you performed a miracle. So here's my vow, my final truth, my sacred promise. I will live in a way that reflects what you taught me. I will speak softly, love boldly, forgive quickly, and when I meet someone hurting, I'll offer them the kind of grace you once offered me. Not because I'm trying to replace you, but because I am trying to reflect you. Because you were never just my partner, you are my teacher, my healer, my spiritual mirror. And if by some wild stroke of destiny our paths ever cross again, if I ever get the chance to look you in the eyes and say all this out loud, I won't waste it. I'll fall to my knees if I have to. I'll whisper, I see you, I honor you, and I will never, ever let you walk through this world feeling unseen again. But until that day, I will keep building altars in your name, in every kind word I offer, in every honest conversation, in every act of love that doesn't ask to be repaid. Because baby, your love didn't just change me, it rewrote me. It made a disciple out of a skeptic, a poet out of a closed heart, a man out of a boy, and now I carry your legacy not with sadness, but with reverence. You were never a chapter, you were the whole damn book. If you made it this far, if your heart is still beating a little heavier than usual, it means this message was meant for you, not just as entertainment, but as a mirror, a healing, a space where your own story could unfold between the words. So tell us, beloved soul, comment, I forgive you if you felt the weight of his sorrow. Say comment, still believing in us, if your love still lingers in the echoes. Comment, truth, if this message brought healing to a place you didn't know was still broken. This is more than a video. This is a sanctuary for the silenced, a safe place for the unspoken. And if you felt even one tear rise up through your chest, you are not alone. Like this video, if it reminded you of a love that never really left, subscribe for more messages straight from the soul. Share this with someone who needs to hear the words they were never brave enough to say, because sometimes all it takes is one message, one voice, one whisper in the dark to remind us that love is still the most powerful force in the world. And you, yes, you reading this, are still worthy of it. As you in the next one.